Hindi medium for you. So share those days of college and what were your experiences and what really resulted into your uh, getting bitten by the entrepreneur spark.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for inviting me here. Um, it's an honor to to talk about my story, which I don't yet believe it has been made to that level which we're talking. I remember that when I was in early days of school, like 10th and 12th class, which is when you recognize what's your career going to be, and coming from a school which was in a town near Aligarh. I mean, I was not even a Aligarh student. I was in a town which my schoolmates wouldn't have access to chappals to wear to school, by the way. Okay, so a school like that, one of the key decision-making twist used to be: would you be an engineer? Would you be a doctor? That was the split, right? And being one of the, I'm third kid for my father, and he's a school teacher himself. So we sort of had a very humbling middle class upbringing, which meant that everything that gets you a good job is worthy. And engineers were highly paid in those days, so it became engineering college attempt. My problem was that I couldn't have appeared at IIT exam because you sort of have to narratively give answers, and there was no coaching class which could teach you, especially when you're coming from Hindi medium school where you do not even know what the question is. So I would appear at exams which would be objective type, where I would read the answer to figure out what the question is. So I would read the answer, figure out, well, they're trying to ask this, one of this is useless answer, this is the correct answer. Now I know what they're trying to ask. Let me read the question and figure out what is what is truly the question is. Because
True reverse engineering.
true reverse engineering stuff from starting. So went ahead and found out, as God would be kind and luck would be my side. Ended up being in Delhi School of Engineering. Some of those people who were very intelligent and sharp around me, electronics and communication. But as soon as I landed in college, it was so horrible for me because number one, I was out of my house, home, which means that I was in hostel, and hostel life for a young lad wouldn't be so easy. And I was 15-year-old, as we talked about, so it was pretty young age.
And ragging had not been banned by that time.
Literally. So one is that, and second was so I would be troubled at hostel, and I will be massively in trouble in the classroom. So in my school class, I was topper, and in my engineering college class, I had movement of Tare Jami Par. Remember that guy when the classroom is going and the alphabets are flying in the sky, and this guy is like, what are they trying to teach me? So I had that movement for me. And I can vividly remember that I used to get all red, and the teacher is asking me to stand up, and I'm not realizing that he's asking me to stand up. That kind of movement, because I wouldn't even know what the question he's asking, and I would be embarrassed by standing up. And then I started getting out of the classroom, and then I found my recluse into computer center. As luck would have it, 94 is the time when I went into engineering college, and this is the time when internet was happening. And as luck would give me opportunity to work on internet in very early days. We shared, like we had those email addresses in those days. So from a totally useless kid in the classroom, I became a sort of a very savvy internet user, if not a savvy business person yet. And Silicon Valley stories started happening. We would go Sunday market, Daryaganj Sunday market, where there would be magazines that will be sold, and I would buy PC Quest, I would buy Data Quest, I would buy Fortune, which would be sold from 10 rupees to 15 rupees. And from there, I started studying and learning, and then eventually, in my college days, had a parallel life. I would go in computer center, and I'll come back from computer center. Now, Delhi University, if you're studying, you remember that there is a supply that is coming, okay? Because your attendance is going to be short. So I was a good guy from teacher's perspective and college perspective, because I would create their website, I would solve email hosting, a lot of solutions that we talked about DoCoMo gives today. I would try building those things for college as a volunteer. So principal will like me, except that my department would hate me. So I sort of had a very risky relationship in a college with my teachers, because one side they needed me to check their emails create their email addresses, printouts, codes, programming help, because I was the system administrator. And other side, I was not a good guy in the classroom, and the scores would come. Finally, luck would give me an opportunity.
And if I'm not wrong, during college you also started earning some money doing all this work, right?
Oh yes, and that's an interesting one that uh, I had figured out that I can't get a job out of college. This is clear because my class had all these toppers of DPS and every college or school in Delhi, which just made me totally terrified that I can't get a job when we have so smart people in the class. So I sort of used to think, my parents have sent me here, I am going to get supplies, which I was getting back to back, no problem. And I might not even get a job because the teacher won't let me sit in the training and placement interview. What will I tell my parents that what had happened to me? So I try to make money by creating web hosting, domain name selling, email solutions, and so on. So I remember that I had a college time business card, which used to have my hostel address in a very slang way. It has East 37, comma DCE, comma K Gate, and Delhi 6. It started to sound as if that this is a suite apartment and so on, but it truly was a hostel, East Hostel room number 37 for a Delhi College of Engineering. But I would say that and you know, very interesting way, I got some customers by sitting in college because I used to travel by bus if I was going somewhere, then I used to see these free ads. So I would place free ads. And a lot of time, I found a hack of getting a business early days. This is really cool, I remember. So they were job placement ads of HTML, technology, and so on and so forth. I would go give a job interview, and when the guy would say, what is your salary expectation? I'll say, I'm actually studying. Do you want to give me that work? Instead of hiring me. So some of people will feel so bad and then say, don't do that next time. We wanted a full-time employee and so on. And some of those will give me work. So I sort of hacked my way to get the work also in early days. Finally, final year came where we will need to apply for job. And I remember this job interview, which was very surreal, so to say, when the guy asked me some questions on programming, which is what engineering college kids are supposed to know because it was a programming test. After 2 or 3 answers, I said, you're doing a mistake by asking me these questions because whatever answers I've given are not the answers. I don't know them. I just learned them in last 2 weeks. This is not what I would like to do either. So then they asked me what kind of things you like, what kind of things you do, and so on. So I started talking about my internet journey, things that I do on internet, and so on. And my honesty in the room was sort of very vividly evident that I do not want to do what they came to hire me for. At the same point, I was very sincerely doing something which I was so passionate about. And they gave me a job offer, by the way. And this was the highest paying job in the campus of that year, actually. And from a person who had supplies back to back and would be scared to get a job at all, I ended up getting the highest paying job in the campus in the job interview, and I couldn't believe that it is happening again. And that then makes me believe that there is something called God. If you are sincere, God will take care of you through the throughs of his alleys and valleys.
So that sort of relieved the family pressure.
True.
Because I think you wanted to become an entrepreneur, but your family said, no entrepreneurship, you must take up a job.
Yeah.
So now you take up a job,
Yeah.
but by that time, entrepreneurship is already sort of, that is flowing in your blood.
Yeah.
So now what happens?
I think if you're born in an era when Jerry Yang, David Fellow, Yahoo founders, Mark Andreessen, Nextcape founders, all these people are like you talking and reading about them, and you are growing up in the same age, you want to be like one of those. And I remember yourself, and I remember Pradeep Kaur of India, if you remember, and Rajesh Jain. I mean, India was full of this vibrant set of super intelligent people who were building new age of business in this country driven by technology. And I was coming out of that, and I sort of had a luck of trying to be in the internet business in the same days. So I also wanted to do this, except as you said, my family was clear. Get a job and go to USA. You are a blank check. No, it was not a blank check statement, which is I added extra. The intention was when you come from a middle-class background where you get a job as an engineer, the next thing they want you to do is go to USA. And I had clear thought in my mind that instead of going to USA and be one of those H1, H2, H visa holders, I never wanted to be that. I wanted to build a company in India. Why? Because I saw a lot of students of Stanford building that in Valley. And I thought that, will India also be able to create something like that? And the desire to build something out of India which will be loved by the world, let me not move there. So it was sort of a little bit of home fight. And I think I negotiated with my mother that till the time there is a certain amount of money that I keep supplying back home as a part of my ritual duty, I treated it like that, I would have negotiated my freedom of doing whatever I want to do. So even though in those days when I moved on from the job, I would make sure that I sell few hosting still, domain names, websites, etc., so that I make sure that money continues to go back home, even if it was not available for my own operations.
Okay.
Cash flow management.
So therefore, you set up your own business and you started that.
Yeah.
And now we are talking about the year 2000. So you now, 2000, 2001, that was the time, just
2001, I
before
think
9/11,
9/11
right?
was to happen. Yes, that's right.
It hadn't happened
It
till
hadn't
that
happened.
time, right? And that is when you get full scale, you plunge into
Correct.
internet business.
Yes.
Okay. Talk about the struggle for the next 4 years or so, 5 years that you went through.
2001 was one incredible year for whole world, because what happened in 9/11 changed not only how you perceive the world, but also how businesses are run. It was clear that it doesn't matter what America can think, there is a lot more instability in the world. And there is a lot of business methods and matrices that have to change. This was the year when internet bubble was happening in NASDAQ. Everything fell. Money didn't evaporate, it wiped out for good for next many years. I want to tell you guys that, some of the companies that survived in those days are true leaders of today. One of them being Google, other being Amazon. Why couldn't somebody else challenge them? Because what they did a couple of months before let them remain and sail through that tough period, and no new company could challenge them. While they kept challenging the previous ones, and nobody could challenge because there was like a time advantage to them. I was one of those unlucky ones who never got a chance to get any money or raise any money for my business before 9/11 happened. So I started assuming that soon we will have 9/11 some business. Interestingly, I want to tell you guys, I saw location-based business booth outside. In 2011, 2001, I was building a location-based business. And my intention of building 197 was that this is a person. So you call 197 in India. I'm sure all of us belong to that age where 197 used to be the number to talk to number of Khannaji, Sharmaji, and Guptaji. And so the intention was creating a white pages for India. So people search. And then we added maps to it so that you can talk about where this person is. Whatever today that we sort of taken for granted, that is the sort of thing that we thought in way too back. The reason for that was that US government